Hello and a very warm welcome to another edition of the Digital Brew. I'm here today with Larry Koch from Brainbroker, and we're going to be talking about the challenges of building a digital team. Larry, thanks for your time today. It's nice to see you in the pillbox.
Great to be here. Yeah, thanks a lot.
I think one of the stimuluses for our chat today is actually I did 2 Digital Brew episodes back. I spoke to Ashley from eConsultancy about digital transformation, and it just got me thinking about the kind of wonderful world of digital. And one of the things that I get over and over and over again is the challenges of recruitment, primarily. It's sort of building that digital team. And I was aware of Brainbroker and your kind of virtual agency model, so I thought you'd be a great person to speak to about that. But for people who don't know you, perhaps you could give us a quick 30-second intro to yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Larry Koch. I'm the founder of Brainbroker. It's what we call a virtual agency. So it's a new way of doing, I suppose, digital agency, so digital services, which we'll get to, I'm sure, at some point. Been doing that for about 2 years. Learned a lot along the way about, people in the digital sector across the world. So
I'm looking for that. One of our email banters was the journey to get there. And I think I'd certainly like to come back and talk about Brainbroker specifically, but I think as a kind of just kind of way in. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced it and you've heard similar sort of views on those challenges of finding good people. I think it's not hard to find people nowadays, but I think good, talented digital people has always been a headache, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that, above and beyond just it's a novel industry, really. But I was just wondering, as a kind of opening gambit, what are your views on kind of why that's the case? Why is it such a challenge? Maybe you don't think it is a challenge. I don't know.
Well, so there's kind of levels to that question. Definitely here in the UK, we are a more kind of advanced economy. Certainly Western Europe, America tends to be more advanced in these areas. So we almost have, demand outstripping supply because, we have a lot of these new service firms and tech offerings that lots of companies around the world are very interested in. And we need to make sure that our companies are stocked up with these digital skills. But, the rate at which people are deciding to, study computer science or study a marketing course or something hasn't caught up with the demand. And the demand is exponential, just like the sort of technology curve in most, sort of industry is sort of a bit of a hockey stick, kind of goes up. So you could say, in terms of skills, that's what we need. And so if you look at, for instance, this borough where we're in, Tower Hamlets, it's a huge priority. I think it's priority number 2 of the local borough of Tower Hamlets, which is actually, I think, like the 11th largest economy in Europe, Tower Hamlets itself. And their second most sort of prioritized objective is digital skills. And they are pouring loads of money and initiatives to try and just desperately get people, into apprenticeships or through courses. That's how bad it is. The government is. That's like one of their main focuses. So
I mean, London has always. I mean, I think you're right. I'd agree. The UK has been at the real kind of sort of front edge of the kind of digital revolution. We've got US clients, and sometimes I'm a little bit surprised that they just feel like they're kind of 3 or 4 years behind in terms of what they're doing, what they're experimenting with, and I think it's great. The UK is seen as a kind of pioneer in that regard. And London of all, there are the kind of Leeds, the Manchesters. There are other kind of hotbeds of really good. There's good stuff coming out of not just London. So not be too London-centric,
absolutely,
but just by into the numbers of people in London and just the. I always got the hipster community, the kind of big beards and things. It's it's there, but it's so you suggested really there it's the latency issue that we all know that the demand is massive, the supply is growing, so people are. It is, so there's investment schemes. Challenge, again, I think that's a fair point, and so Brasmead has been going for 13 years now, and if I think back over the years of recruiting and interview processes, in the early days I didn't have anyone doing media studies or sort of degrees which are pretty well engineered, you'd think, for a digital career. Depressingly though, I don't think it's really helped, and that's it's kind of a negative view on it, and maybe that's I've just been a bit unlucky. But do you think, and this is probably a bit controversial, that some of these courses are generated through the investment and people so desperately trying to plug these holes but actually it's the wrong people going into it in the first place, or it's seen as an easy option, perhaps?
Yeah, I think certainly when it comes to technical skills like developers, data scientists, things like that, you kind of have to go through the technical courses. I think if your mind isn't geared that way, it's going to be very difficult to kind of retrofit that on after university or something and just pick up some of these skills. Although there's lots of initiatives like Code Startup, Code Camp and like Code Academy, where they're taking people who want to get out of a kind of, I suppose, traditional sector and go into tech. And those have actually been quite successful. Okay. And some people are able to transition off. But I'd say it takes someone who's pretty kind of forward-thinking and pretty open-minded and, has a lot of other qualities that probably mean that they'll be sort of good at whatever they do. Yeah. But in terms of the other digital skills, because let's not forget, it's not all about developers and technical. You've got kind of digital marketing as a skill. That is almost a completely different skill set. Yeah, although now more than ever, the two are kind of coming together. So whereas, like you were saying, back in the day, you might have people coming and doing media studies and things like that. These are very creative people, and a big part of working in the digital sector is being creative. Correct. But it's now got to a stage where creative isn't enough. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of people that maybe graduated from some of those courses 10 years ago or 5 years ago, even now, you look at how digital marketing has evolved, there's lots of really, really technical parts to it now.
Just data-driven nature. Yeah. You can't be a fluffy marketer. You have to be keen on numbers, and stats and analysis, which, again, I think the good marketers always have done. They've always, been, there's an appetite to look at the sort of efficiency of what they're doing. But I think digital demands that more and more.
I've definitely noticed that there is a group of people that no matter, and I'm sure they can see that this is happening, they still don't, for some reason, either they have enough work kind of doing their sort of pure creative thing. Great content, sort of people who come up with ideas, but in terms of executing it on digital channels, there's a lot of people that I know if they just put that into their game, they would be a lot stronger, but for whatever reason, either can't or won't do it. Either it doesn't compute, or it won't. So I know what you're talking about. It definitely is an issue that, there's this whole tranche of people that would be perfect for the digital sector, and they have the creativity box checked. Yeah. But for some reason, there's some kind of roadblock there, and it's an interesting idea how you might sort of get those two to.
It's fascinating. I'm like, just thinking back to the chat with Ashley in the digital transformation piece, just the nature of job roles. Yeah, it's no doubt it's evolving, and I think to pigeonhole people into sort of specific roles is dangerous. And I think the sooner that a really good city financier who's incredibly analytical and brilliant with the numbers and sort of visionary, as soon as he can think, actually there are other career paths open to me, the better. Although you've got the usual problem there that it'll be inevitably a kind of downgrade in terms of pay and stuff. But that's going to challenge. Because I think pay has caught up, and I think in the early days, I think back to my kind of very early days in digital, there were certain roles which were very well paid. If you're a good Java developer 10, 15 years ago, I mean, you name your day rate, and people are just
you make bank
clamoring for it. Whereas I think maybe some of the kind of soft marketing roles sort of almost follow the advertising sort of industry model, where you basically don't pay a lot to start with, and you give them experience, and you probably cherry pick the best ones, and then go on to pay them well. So there's always a good, fairly steep career path. Yeah, maybe it didn't pay particularly well to kind of start with. So if you're a bright grad at the Oxbridges or the Red Brick universities, who you're getting approached by the big banks, the big consultancies. They can offer more, and they can offer probably at least a promise of job security, which I'd question.
So that's interesting that you're saying that, though, because what you find if we now extrapolate to kind of more of a global level, places like the UK, where somebody coming out of university or something like that, they have actually quite a lot of choice, and actually the people that will become Java developers and obsess about one that's very technical kind of career vocation, they're actually the number of occurrences of those people in the population, people who can really sit there on a computer for 10 hours a day it takes a special kind of person. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just, on a bell curve of people who'd accept to do that, they're kind of, the like 15%.
Yeah. No,
so
definitely.
In places like India, where it's clear that there's a booming tech sector, you find that people don't have a choice. So, someone might wake up and actually what they want to be is a veterinarian, a vet, but they don't, there's no jobs going to be a vet. So, everyone's in call centers, kind of chipping away on WordPress websites or something. And so they will not do what their heart wants them to do, and they will go into the tech sector. Whereas in the UK, it's kind of difficult. You can't really paint the picture for people because of like, oh, it's so sexy to work as a developer. Because if your mind isn't that kind of person, if you don't have that kind of mind, within a year the gig's up. You're like, I'm not going to just do this. I'm not going to just sit here and literally on this computer and tap things away for 10 hours. So I don't even know if there's a way to shortcut it. And this is why a lot of the digital skills you actually see in places like Eastern Europe, Asia.
Yeah, okay, great. I mean, as an agency, we don't actually do any development. We're just marketing, but we work with other development agencies. And there's no doubt in Poland in particular, there's some great developers there. And Romanians there. They're very, they work hard. They're good. And in actual fact, the kind of language barrier isn't an issue.
No, culturally similar.
Yeah, and the kind of time differences can actually work in your advantage, particularly in development, where you can get the Indian to release something at the end of their day. It's kind of mid-morning here, and actually clients can then look at it, feedback, and the whole sort of nature of agile development. Actually having a time gaps sometimes an advantage.
For sure,
it's good for sort of pressing the flesh and eye-to-eye meetings. But there's certainly, and the nature of the work that they're doing, and this is particularly for development. I think for marketing can be challenges there, but there is it doesn't really matter where they are. That it demands excellent project management skills. But there's no reason why they can't actually be anywhere. And that's liberating. I think that's kind of really good thing. And I think one of the issues I always think of, maybe just personally, but again looking at clients, particularly in the kind of the building a digital team challenge, it's actually that of retention. I think it's quite easy to find people to interview. Not always necessarily kind of the best people to interview, but you can find people. But the hard thing for a lot of organisations, and I think this is true for both client side and agencies, is retention. And I think here in London, you've got the kind of mercenary kind of people looking after themselves, and they'll chase the money. And if the money's there to be paid, you have to work way around that. Do you think that digital has more of a retention challenge than other industries, or is it just because I work in it and that's the way I feel?
Well, so I mean, I'm kind of we're in the lucky position, as many people you've probably interviewed, that you're kind of at sort of more of a startup phase, where people are kind of still joining you because they want to be part of the journey, and so it's not necessarily a thing about looking at retention and churn rate, because it's more it's kind of like a personal thing. But generally speaking, I think you're right, because if you look at the number of freelancers or consultants in the tech industry, it's when you realize how valuable you are that you're like, okay, you know what? Why would I stay in a company where they're going to pay me 60K when I can be a consultant and charge £1,000 a day? So people wouldn't be doing that if it wasn't already quite a mercenary, like industry. I mean, you look at like law or something. If a good lawyer becomes a partner, and so someone's a good lawyer if they're a partner, you don't really know if someone's a good lawyer if they're a consultant. Actually, you probably think that they didn't make partners, so they're probably not a very good lawyer. Whereas in tech, it's kind of
and I think actually that brings me to really other important question I had thinking about our discussion. I think. And hopefully less so now, but historically, I think a lot of organisations have recognised the need for a digital person or a digital team. But they really struggle recruiting that, because they don't really know what they need, because they're not digitally savvy enough to sort of do that. They don't really know the questions to ask, because particularly for a specific skill set, if it's development, how can they really validate their code, and how do they really do that? And they just don't know what a good and bad answer really is. And I think that's maturing, I think. I think I'd like to think that as more and more people have experience, they'll be able to sense the good or bad ones. And I absolutely agree. Back in the day, there was this job in particular. I remember people, unbelievable day rates.
Yeah.
And they basically couldn't code Java, but because there was such a demand, they'd go work for 4 days.
Yeah.
They wouldn't produce anything. They'd get kicked out on the Thursday, maybe Friday. They'd have a new contract by Monday.
I'm sure,
and just went from place to place to place to place. And it's, and I'd like to think that's changed, but maybe not.
It's still there in terms of legacy systems. So there's a lot of companies that still sort of haven't switched over. And actually, so if anything, it's probably gotten worse in terms of day rates, or is it better for the consultant, but worse for the company, because there's fewer and fewer people that are bothering to keep those skills up to date, because the new enterprise software or whatever it is out. So yeah, it's still going on, but I think in some ways there's there's always opportunity if paying a lot for a certain skill is there, then a company will create a more simple software stack to do whatever that does. So eventually, all of the inefficient stuff is churned out. That's how tech works.
It's markets, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of supply and demand, I guess. And it's an interesting point about the kind of lawyers and knowing if they get to partnership, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. I'd also sort of.
It's not always, but it's like a kind of
little bit of sort of, maybe they're a good political player, and it takes a long. And that's, I think, the big difference now is if I know people in top legal firms. The route to partnership is it's long, it's brutal, and you get to partner, and it gets even worse because you have all the responsibility of P&L, and it's just hard work.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it surprised me that more these, and they're bright. You have to be good. Mm-hmm. You think, come on over to kind of our world and just sort of help, sort of, bring in more. Well, the reverse. No, I think there's a brain drain out of the industry per se. Yeah. But just let's kind of welcome more in.
Yeah.
So Brain Broker itself is going 2 years. What was the kind of catalyst for starting the business? Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of a lot of the stuff we've touched upon, but effectively we're looking around, and the way it started is my co-founder, Jonathan, he was working in a kind of consultancy that only used freelancers, but sort of very high level. So they were going against like Bain and McKinsey and things like that. And they were bidding for £1 million consultancy projects and venture projects. And they were using very experienced people around the world who were either retired or consultant. Apply a margin. And so we thought that's a really good model. It seems to be working. They were undercutting all the big guys quite significantly and winning a lot of big clients, like, blue chip clients. So we saw this as like a very cool model, but we sort of thought, okay, how this is working at this level. Is there a way that this can work at a kind of SME level? And if we were to pick an area, so, out of the professional services, what should we pick? And we picked digital because it's currently the most confusing for SMEs.
And the demand. So everybody needs it. Everybody knows they need it.
Exactly.
But they don't really know how to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's a challenge.
Yeah. So effectively, we were sort of looking around and saying, how, you've got lots of big agencies in the UK, traditional agencies, where fantastic work product, great case studies, great people working on it. No one's knocking that. But the price can be sometimes very high for SMEs to afford. And so we were looking at that and saying, so, if I was a budget SME or an SME that wanted to do something, at not that rate, a little bit less expensive, what are my options? We can hire, but we've just talked about the issues with hiring. Like, how do you really know what you need? It's very difficult to make that call. Or there was this whole sort of gig economy kind of splashing out, and there was all these kind of platforms where you could put projects in and get
and Fivers and Odesk and all that kind of stuff.
All of those, Elance, freelancer.com. There's quite a few of them. They're very popular now. The problem with those was, especially for tech projects, for complicated tech projects,
quality controls,
garbage in, garbage out.
It's very hard. I think you almost need a digital person to manage that process, and that's always come back to knowing what good is. If you're not digital, you can't put a brief out on these platforms and I need a system that does this.
You miss one thing, it's not getting done.
You're right. Shit out. You need to get the right briefing kind of stance.
Yeah, so it's about sort of, how do you trust yourself to write a brief? How do you trust yourself to look at the bids that come back from people all over the world? Someone's quoting you £5, someone's quoting you 5,000. Which one do you pick? Then who's going to manage those people to make sure they do it on time? Who's going to do the quality assurance at the end? what's the continuity like? You know, do you need updates every year for your website? Is that person going to get a job somewhere else or just be, you know, doing something else at that time next year? Are they going to stick around? So there's all these kind of issues that you don't get with agencies that come up when you use a freelancer platform. So our idea was, you know, how do we
bridge that
gap? Yeah. How do we give people those things that they like from the agency world, but give them the price point and the flexibility that these marketplaces afford? And so Brainbroker is sort of in between that spectrum. It's kind of like a virtual agency.
Yeah. So, do you have effectively a book of experts within their field? So clients will brief you. So they come to Brainbroker saying, this is the project, and that probably needs a bit of polishing sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can work out the best fit virtual team for that.
Exactly. So we basically do a lot of careful vetting of people before they kind of get on our sort of bench, as it were. And then we test them out on projects. We test them out with you know, practical examples. Once they become a brain, then they're able to come on our projects. The client never actually needs to speak to any of them. They have an account manager like they would at any other agency.
So you've got permanent staff who are client facing. You know, project management and client interface.
Exactly. Okay. And then the actual execution or the implementation is done at the most cost-effective global price.
And that's the next obvious question. So global. So do you have a global footprint in terms of the kind of resources you use? And how are you finding these people? Because that's, you know, that's an interesting challenge. It could be a full-time job for about 5 people, I think.
I mean, it's sort of it sounds kind of almost too obvious, but LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is the most powerful thing ever, and there's certain ways in which you can find people on LinkedIn and retrieve their information, which I won't necessarily divulge because it's but there's certain ways that you can, you know, if I need if I need 10 developers like in you know Node.js or something, I can find and vet and have 2 or 3 people who have jumped through all the hoops within 4 days,
proven sort of abilities.
I can have people sort of lined up, you know, sort of, you know, tested by that time. I mean, in practice we wouldn't do it that way because we want to have more time to get to know them, but it just you can be very quick when using it.
I'm not sure I'm playing devil's advocate or being just nasty, but it's almost sounds too good to be true. And I'm sitting on the fence, but we have a permanent team. They're all within the kind of walls of our office, and it absolutely costs me more. There's no two ways about it. You know, the 40 to 50% of the time they're not actually doing anything worthwhile, which is just fact. By the time you've done the holidays and everything else, you have to absorb that cost. The printers in the office, you have to absorb that cost. The rates, you know, you spend a fortune on local policing, which just it frustrates me that the costs of running a business are high. And you're absolutely right. It has to be sort of molded into that the day rate. The day rates will be higher than a sort of, you know, hired gun. But the reason I sleep at night is because I'm not a megalomaniac, but I know the team. I'd like to think probably better than you possibly can if they're based in Bangalore. And you can do a lot. And I'm not saying you don't know these people. I think I can look them in the eye in the mornings if something's going a little bit off track and off piece. I'd like to think I can pick that up faster. Not always. Clearly, that's sort of not always the case. And also the continuation. So it's actually funny you said something about clients not needing to speak to the individuals, and that just got me thinking, because I think some of our people clients don't speak to, but I actively try and get people to speak to clients, because I think building a relationship with clients is really, really good. But some clients don't want that. You know, they actually
for sure
they want one person, and they don't really care
if
that project is £10,000. Their budget is £10,000. They don't really.
As long as it's done for 10,000.
Exactly. As long as it's on time, on budget, quality, all that kind of stuff. They're paying you, so your service really is managing the headaches of finding the right people to do it, and you're still taking on the responsibility of delivering that.
For sure.
But you must have instances where it's hard work, and the margins, which is the basic business model, is fantastic. So you don't have the overheads. Your your kind of virtual team will invoice you when they're working.
Yeah, and then they're done. Yeah.
When they're not working, which is the problem we have.
Yeah.
They still cost you as much money. And and you see, it's a sort of very obvious business model, but there must be inefficiencies within that.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that when I say freelance, that's a big part of what we do and what we started off with. But we also sort of embrace kind of the idea of the remote worker. Yep. So we do actually have an office in Bosnia.
Okay.
Where we have certain core people that are actually there, because when you do a sort of a large number of websites, say per month, or you do have a lot of repetitive things that you need to do, and building the systems and training people, getting the IP in their head makes sense, and it can actually lower the cost even further than using a freelancer, because a freelancer might say, for this website, I'm going to charge £700, and we might charge £1,500 for a website, let's say. But if you hire someone, you can pay somebody £700 a month over there and train them up properly, and they will produce 5 or 6 websites. So you can bring the cost even further down. So I think what we're trying to get at with our agency is to build an agency that really serves small companies. And we think that given there's this kind of global distribution of skills, there's all sorts of software we can use, virtual environments, so we get to know people. It's about combining the tools, the freelancers, and the remote workers to build something, as lean from a cost perspective as possible, and pass that saving on to the SME.
I think I welcome it. I mean, I think you're doing on a global level what we do. So we're based in Colchester. The rent, although it annoys me, is still a lot less. The rates are everything is less. And it's great because we just passed those. So, our day rates, most of our work is here in London. Our day rates are significantly lower. The people are fantastic. I have total faith in our team. And I can see if you go to Bosnia, go to these other countries, it becomes even cheaper to operate. And it's a leadership issue. You need to be very, very, very adept at managing that process.
Absolutely.
And that, again, it's just...
So that has been actually like the most work that we've kind of done, and the stuff that's kind of been the hardest to do is to build relationships over in Bosnia, where our main hub is. All the kind of issues around that with setting up companies over there, hiring people, training them up on various things. It's taken a long time to get that all kind of working, and we have someone over there that we trust very dearly.
You need feet on the ground in wherever it is who are excellent. And you implicitly trust to crack on. Do you have any clients? Are you kind of totally transparent with clients about how it's? I mean, they don't really care. I've found clients really don't mind.
Yeah, so we don't say sort of this is how much we're taking on top. No, we sort of just say this is how much it is.
It's a very effective rate, and it's good value. It's a win-win for everyone. It's fingers up to the big agencies who have even bigger overheads and even bigger salaries and all that kind of stuff. But I suppose I have a lot of sympathy for that sort of David and Goliath mentality, where I used to get scared. I used to go into the pitches against these sort of the real big guys. And you say, you know what, they have nothing that we don't, other than more people in a shinier office. The good, the better agencies are the people. Where those people are shouldn't matter. How much the kind of day rate sort of bubbles up to be. Hopefully, clients will kind of respect the quality of the output.
Exactly, that's the important thing. At the end of the day, if the quality speaks for itself, then one of the main issues that we have actually when we're pitching clients is that they say, "How can it be only that much? Like, what is this going to be? Just crap, basically? Like, are you just going to build something useless? Like, how can it be? Like, how is it not at least 3 times that price?" So it's almost us actually just trying to say, look, like we make a very healthy margin on that. Here are our case studies. Just look through them. This isn't a joke. Like,
I can't tell you the number of times we've lost work on. We liked everything about the pitch, but you were the cheapest.
Yeah.
Like, really? So be it.
Yeah.
Just before the cameras blow up and melt, I always like to finish on a kind of vision for the future. Do you think that digital specialism will continue to exist?
So I think most industries are going to become digital industries eventually. I mean, whether we're talking about artificial intelligence disrupting, everything that we're going to touch in the next 30 years. It depends if we're talking about further than 30 years, but definitely you look at sort of fintech, you look at kind of like cryptocurrencies, you look at kind of like AI, like gig economy, on demand. All these kind of buzzwords. It is coming to every industry. You know, you've got like shipping logistics is being disrupted by artificial intelligence. Like, you know, you can think of every single industry, and it is coming. And you know, it happens a lot faster than people think. And people always think that, oh, you know, that's ages away. That's like 50 years away.
It's now.
It's always faster than people think by a significant degree. So I think, you know, all skills will in some way, you'll have to be sort of digital, because most of your clients will come, you know, from digital.
That's the thing. That's where I put a badly worded question, but I think as a silo, I think digital may fade. I mean, you can remember older from a new media age is the kind of the de facto industry kind of thing. Like, you know, the concept of new media age, I mean, it just sounds so dated already, and it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It's
that's
just
the case point. Yeah.
You know, we are all businesses are impacted by digital. So I think we'll have business leaders, we'll have sort of operational people. You know, operational people will have to be digitally savvy and confident, and you know, managing supply chain management. It will be digital. There's just not going away. So I just don't know how long we've got
left.
It's an interesting. I think it's matured. I think people are. Well, especially for us as primarily an SEO agency, you know, the whole SEO is dead. That drum's been banged for ages.
Yeah, and it's.
I can agree. It's not dead. Clearly, but I sort of agree that what people used to think of SEO, so kind of mass spam crap. Yeah, great. It is dead, and thank the Lord for that. I'm very happy that that's dead. Yeah. However, a more modern, you know, using data to understand our, well, in our case, our customers, using sort of intelligence, using marketing in a digital channel. So exactly that's modern marketing. Yeah, and you cannot be a marketeer these days without being digital. It's not possible. And I think, as you say, most aspects of most jobs, it's pretty hard to not be digital of sorts. So I think it all kind of merge in, but I think. And again, when I was speaking to Ashley, I think you know, lots of CEOs, organisations, historically they came up through the kind of typically the finance route. So their kind of financial director was the natural sort of CEO of the future. Yeah, it's much more kind of CMO now. And all that kind of stuff.
Completely agree, and I've seen that. Yeah,
and good developers who are kind of commercially astute and savvy, they've transformed businesses. Yeah, they're the change makers, and they're the ones being kind of, you know, sort of rewarded for that. Yeah, and that's great. And I think that's where I think the not that we need to come out of the shadows per se, but I think digital will become such an accepted profession that perhaps these challenges, which we've all sort of acknowledged, hopefully they'll fade and there'll be bigger talent.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. I mean, I think you're 100% right with that. I think, you know, when you look at, say, the number of people that were on LinkedIn even 2 years ago, you know, and now it's like, it's exponentially, you know, you just have to extrapolate 5 years, and it'll be hard to think of a better place to sell. I mean, to sell stuff if you can get access to those people. Just as one thing, I mean, but you know, the only difference between two companies doing the same thing, the only difference in size of each of those companies is marketing. I mean, if they're both doing the same thing, of course there's relationships, things, but the more that people are found online and digital channels are explored, the more it's going to become about how good you are at driving people through those channels to you instead of your competitor. And that's literally, you know, like 80% of it. So it just seems to me that certainly in terms of, if you're a company, surely like 50% of what you're trying to do every day is get more clients if you're trying to grow your company. So at least half the company needs to know what they're doing with getting those new clients online. So that's already 50% of most people need to be clued up on digital. And then the actual execution, if you want to outcompete everyone, put lower prices, you've got to be using data, you've got to be, you know, automating things, you know. It's always been a race, you know, and we just now have more tools that, if you're not careful, the company next door can just come with something completely new.
But the best tools need the best operators. So still people.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Larry, it's been great speaking to you. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, you too.
Enjoyed that.
Cheers,
hope you enjoyed that. We've got a few more episodes in the pipeline as always, but always keen to hear from you if you'd like to be involved. So please get in touch. Thank you.